Today we'll be reading Santa's Gotta Go, written by Derrick Barnes and illustrated by Courtney Lovett. Last Christmas, the Max of 4550 Welling Good Lane saw a story on TV about Santa Claus spending some quality time with the family in Boston, sipping hot cocoa and playing video games. This Christmas, the Max figured they'd do everything they could to get Santa to hang out for a bit at their house. Miss Mac baked sugar cookies, a chocolate cake, and 6 cherry pies. Mr. Mac and the 2 children, Monte and Mabel, hung out their brightest lights so Santa wouldn't miss them. And then they waited. Just as Monte and Mabel were dozing off, they heard the thunder of heavy hooves on the roof. "It's got to be Santa!" the kids shouted. Do you think it's Santa? Let's see. When they peeked downstairs, there he was, leaving a bunch of presents and gobbling up some goodies. When he rushed out, Monte and Mabel followed him to sneak a peek at Santa in his sleigh. There he was on his cell phone speaking to Miss Claus. "Yeah, it's been a long night, babe, but I'm finally done. I'll be home in 2 shakes of a reindeer's tail." "Oh no, he's leaving," grumbled little Mabel. "And Mama made all that good food too." Santa turned the key and pushed the flashing green button. And nothing happened. The sleigh just sputtered and click, clank, clunked. Santa lifted his hands to the heavens and yelled out in frustration, "Figgy pudding!" Monte and Mabel knew what to do. "Come back inside with us, Santa." Santa borrowed a laptop to order a new part for his sleigh. This tiny doohickey called a yip fuse causes the sleigh to float. The reindeer, they just pulled a thing, he told them all. Who knew? There was only one problem. The yip fuse would take 3 days to arrive. But that didn't worry the Max. "Stay with us," the kids shouted. "How kind. I suppose I could use a little vacation," Santa said. Monte and Mabel stayed up late playing with Santa's reindeer. When they finally fell asleep, it wasn't for long because it sounded like a thunderstorm was brewing outside. Boom, boom, bam, bam, ba-bop. Turns out Santa liked to rock out and had invited some guys from the neighborhood to join him. Feeding Santa was a full-time job since he was super hungry from holiday preparations. Miss Mac had to make lots of trips to the store to keep up with all the food he wolfed down. He especially loved slurping spaghetti sauce from the jar. "Y'all are so generous," Santa said. Monte and Mabel had their hands full helping. "Hey, he's a guest, Mabel. An incredibly special guest, too," said Monte. But even he got tired of doing dishes. Miss Mac had told Santa to feel right at home, and he sure did. The next day, he felt so at home that he took Mr. Mac's limited edition motorcycle out for a spin without asking. If you look at the kids' faces, Monte and Mabel, do you think Dad's gonna like that? When he brought it back, a mirror was dangling off. "Don't worry, Dad. You can ask for a new one next year," Monte said. Crack! But Mr. Mac didn't think this was that funny. The next morning, while working out, Santa accidentally stomped on the new tablet he had brought for Mabel. Crack! Mabel couldn't help erupting. She balled up her fists, scrunched up her nose, and shouted, "Santa's gotta go!" Monte didn't want to admit it, but his baby sister was right. Yep, it's time for Santa to bounce. Fortunately, just then, a box arrived on the doorstep with a yip-yip fuse. But Santa wasn't in a rush. I'll fix the sleigh first thing tomorrow. Tonight, I have a jam session, he said. So the Max decided to give Santa some space and spent the last night of his stay at a local hotel. Much later that night, Santa put on his PJs and got ready for bed. When he went to make himself a cup of warm milk, he found a letter taped to the door. Dear Mr. Claus, we're glad you got to unwind and take a little vacation. Now we need one too. When we invited you to stay, we had no idea what housing Santa Claus would mean. Now we know. Thanks for the presents and for making this Christmas one that we will never, ever forget. Sincerely, the Max. Look at Santa. He's like, ooh. When the Max returned home the next morning, they were happily surprised. The place was spotless. Santa had restocked the fridge and replaced everything he had broken. He had also left a lovely note. Dear Mac family, thanks ever so much for allowing me to rest my old bones in your beautiful home. I hadn't had a break from work for so long and needed this mini vacation so bad. Your kindness and patience are what the Christmas spirit is all about. I'm going to brag to all my friends about getting to stay at 4550 Welling Good Lane with a family that truly opened up their home and their hearts to me. Peace and much love, SC. 3 weeks later, the doorbell rang. When the Mac family opened the door, they could not believe their eyes. Happy holidays! Look who he got with him. You see all the other people, we got the Easter Bunny, got the Leprechaun, the Tooth Fairy, and Mr. Valentine himself, Mr. Cupid. Now, they're all coming to hang out with the Max. That was Santa's Gotta Go by Derrick Barnes, illustrated by Courtney Lovett. Thank you for tuning in to read to us, and remember to subscribe and turn on your notifications.